Welcome, everyone. We'll call this meeting of the Somerville City Council to order in accordance with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2023. This meeting of the City Council may be conducted via remote participation, and please note that video and audio of this meeting is being recorded and may be shown live on local access government channels and on the City of Somerville website and will be available for future review. Will the clerk please call the roll?
This is roll call. Councillor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councillor Davis.
Here.
Councillor Wilson.
Present.
Councillor Said.
Present.
Councillor Scott. Councillor Mba. Councillor Burnley.
Present.
Councillor Klingon.
Present.
Councillor Strezzo.
Present.
Councillor Pineda-Neufeld.
Present.
Councillor Ewan-Campen.
Here.
With 9 councillors present and 2 absent, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Councilors Mba and Scott will be joining us shortly. Pursuant to our Rule 32, let it be known that this City Council salutes the flag of the United States of America, and let us recall our oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth to the best of our abilities and understanding. We will begin this meeting with a moment of silence. Are there councilors wishing to remember community members? Seeing none, everyone who's able, if you'll please rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Colleagues, we have one item that we're going to take out of order because we have city staff here to address it, and I will ask Councillor Wilson to move to sever item 6A10, which is relating to the Assembly Fire Station.
Mr. President, I'll move to do what you just said.
All right, on the motion to sever?
On the motion, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes.
Councillor Said.
Yes.
Councillor Scott. Councillor Mba. Councillor Burnley.
Aye.
Councillor Klingon.
Yes.
Councillor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councillor Pineda-Neufeld.
Yes.
Councillor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With 9 councillors in favor and 2 absent, that motion is approved, and item 24-0154 is now before the council.
Excellent. It is my understanding that our legislative staff and Director Bean are here, but they are not here yet. Let's lay this item on the table until they're in the room and take up the regular order.
Returning to the regular order of business is item 1.3, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 25th, 2024.
Seeing no discussion, that item is laid on the table for approval.
Item 4.1 is an order by Councillor Wilson that this City Council hold a public hearing in the Committee on Finance on the community's fiscal year 2025 budget priorities.
Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. As I mentioned in my explanation of the FY25 budget priorities process 2 weeks ago, the Finance Committee is going to be meeting as a committee of the whole at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 19th, in order to hold a public hearing on the FY 2025 budget priorities. While this has happened a little later than the February 15th date proposed in the new charter text that we'd sent to the mayor last summer, it's in keeping with the spirit of that addition to the budget calendar. As with the previous Finance Committee public hearing back in June on the FY24 proposed budget, this meeting will be virtual with a physical location in a municipal building for folks to comment in person if they don't have the technological capability or don't wish to use their own devices. And once again, interpretation services will be offered in concert with SOIA, and the clerk's office already is handling the noticing of the public hearing. So I'll ask that we approve this tonight and send a copy to Finance so we can use this for our agenda on March 19th. And relatedly, I'll move to waive the readings of items 4.3, 4.5, 7.1 to 7.3, and 10.1 to 10.4 while I've got the mic. And ask that these be sent to Finance, while reminding colleagues that you've got just under 3 weeks now to get your FY25 budget priorities memos submitted for our March 14th regular meeting in order to have those priorities considered as part of this council's FY25 shared budget priorities process. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, did you include the resolutions from Councillor McLaughlin in that?
I did, Mr. President.
Okay, I just want to check. Councillor McLaughlin, were you hoping to speak on those resolutions tonight? Okay. Then those items are
1 to 4, is that what you said for the 10s?
10.1 to 10.4, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
excellent. Those items are referred to the Committee on Finance.
That will bring us to item 4.2, a resolution by Councilor Scott that the administration provide this council with a report on the implementation of a universal basic income pilot, which was announced to be implemented with ARPA funds in 2021.
Is Councilor Scott available?
He is not. I will note there's a similar item in equity if the council is inclined to send it there.
Okay, let's refer this to the Committee on Equity. Councilor Strezzo?
I'd like to point out that we already have a resolution in the Equity Committee that is a duplicate of this exact resolution already waiting in there.
Very well, this item is approved. And we have an update that Director Bean will be joining us shortly. He is having technical issues.
Item 4.4 is an order by Councilor Klingon that the Environmental Health Coordinator discuss the current contract with the pest control company that administers the city's rat abatement program.
Councilor Klingon?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to send this to the Rodent Committee. This is basically in response to even an experience that I had with the contractor, which wasn't necessarily bad, but it certainly left some things to be desired, and I really want to just understand what the contract is and what citizens should expect when they use the rat abatement program, and whether or not we can do better in terms of time we spend on the scene and so on. So I'd like this to go to the Rodent Committee. We can discuss it there. Thank you.
That item is referred to the Committee on Rodent Affairs.
Item 6A is a report of the Committee on Finance, meeting on February 20th, 2024.
Councilor Wilson?
We are flying tonight, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met Tuesday night with 4 of 5 members present. We worked through an 11-item agenda in an hour and 32 minutes. We recommended that you approve tonight the following fairly straightforward mayoral requests: mid-year personnel request to reestablish a union Library 3 West Branch manager position, 2 appropriations for greening up city-owned buildings, 2 small DPW prior year invoices, and the acceptance of a $49,000 roughly UASI grant to the police department to improve security of the evidence space. I do want to highlight a few noteworthy things from Tuesday night for you all tonight. We recommended approval of a $650,000 appropriation of CPA funds for restoration of the City Hall clock tower and roof. Supporting documentation showed that this is just part of the eventual cost estimated by the contractor at $3.4 million, and by capital projects staff and the CPA funding application at $4.5 million. So if you thought $650,000 is cheap to fix the clock tower and roof above us, you're correct. We were informed that there will be some additional requests coming shortly to fund the rest of the cost of that project. We also recommended approval of around a $280,000 transfer of CPA funds back into the Historic Preservation Reserve to replenish that fund after the drawdown from the aforementioned City Hall clock tower and roof restoration funding. We deadlocked 2-2 in a vote on recommended approval of the item that we severed a moment ago and will be taken up separately. Finally, at the request of a committee member, Councilor Strezzo's order to transfer City Council funds from our legal services account to our office supplies account was kept in committee in order to get an opinion from the law department on the legality of the order. I've already reached out to the law department on this. We'll look to get this sorted ahead of the next scheduled Finance Committee meeting on March 12th. Everything else is captured really nicely in Clerk Wadzowski's minutes, and I know that if you haven't read it, you will do so. So with that, I ask that you accept this committee report as submitted. Thanks.
On the committee report, Councilor Burnley.
Thank you. Through the chair, I had a question for the original sponsor of the transfer for the children's space within our chambers. I'm supportive of this. I did have some logistical questions because this is something, as far as I'm aware, the council has never done before. And quite frankly, the council does not use many of its funds within its departments in a discretionary fashion. So I know that the sponsor, Councilor Strezzo, wanted books for this space for the children, and I was just curious if there was a way where the body as a whole, the council as a whole, could contribute ideas to which books are purchased, like what kind of books, and just have some foresight into what would be made available for the children. Thank you.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes, and I am curious, through you, to Councilor Burnley, why this wasn't taken offline, because he did watch or asked. This was a long conversation that has been happening for over 6 months. Also written with Brendan Salisbury. And I also wanted to clarify and educate any counselors that I wasn't able to attend the meeting because it would have triggered a quorum. So that is why I was there, because I did watch the video. So there wasn't any misunderstanding of why I couldn't have been there, because I did watch the video. The way I envisioned, and this is very exciting, because it did seem like there were, which is very disappointing to hear, quite a bit of pushback and concerns. And when we discuss inclusivity, we really want to make sure that everybody feels welcome in our city. And we really want to make sure that families and children, our smallest constituents, are considered and are present here and know that this building is theirs as well. And so when I had the conversations with Brendan over the months that this has we've been planning, discussing, and it was Brendan Salisbury who had the idea that this was possible. He was one of the people here. I'm speaking, and I'm going to ask that, yes, I'm going to ask that that we really have this, because I'm so excited about this. There's so many great things we can do with this. So what I was intending to do with the books is have this small library, purchases through our small bookstores here, and make requests possibly from to really connect that small business community with our bookstores. Or we can do, if we really want to get into the book discussion, I'm bringing that to Somerville, we could talk about how it could just be a little free library, and residents bring books that are important to them and leave them for other residents and visitors here in the City Council chambers. And I think there's so many, it's a symbol validation that every member of this community is considered, especially when we think of school committee, how we have public hearings before every meeting. People are watching, and our residents have told me how important that is, and have been following the Finance Committee and the conversations on this. And it's a simple, easy step that means so much to so many. And I'm so grateful to Clerk Wells and to Brendan Salisbury and all in the team that are helping make this possible. This is really bold.
Councilor Burnley, Clerk Wells also offered to provide an answer.
Thank you, as my question was not answered to my satisfaction.
Mr. President?
Please.
Okay, Mr. President?
I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And then we can clarify.
I want to note, and this hopefully will be information beneficial to everyone, that the city clerk is considered sort of the administrator for the city council, and that does include for the city council's funds. So in the same way that I am responsible for ordering business cards if you need them, or seltzer, or nameplates, I would also be the one responsible for doing the actual logistics of the ordering of books. So if you have ideas for books that you want to see included, send them my way, and we're happy to address that.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have nothing further. That answers my question.
Thank you. Other comments? Excellent. On the committee report, we have some roll calls, and then Director Bean has joined us, as has Councilor Scott.
All right, so first on the report of the Finance Committee meeting of February 20th, 2024. Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Mba. Councilor Burnley.
Aye.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With 10 councilors in favor and 1 absent, the committee report is approved. And that puts 2 items before the council for a roll call vote. Those are items 24-0134 and 24-0135, appropriating $49,250 and $75,900 respectively from the Energy Stabilization Fund. On those items, Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Wilson.
Yes.
Counselor Said.
Yes.
Counselor Scott.
Yes.
Counselor Mba. Counselor Burnley.
Aye.
Counselor Klingon.
Yes.
Counselor Strezzo.
Yes.
Counselor Pineda Newfeld.
Yes.
Counselor Ewan Campen.
Yes.
With 10 counselors in favor and 1 absent, those items are approved.
Excellent. So let's now take off the table 6A10, the Assembly Fire Station. Who are we hearing from to start? Is it Director Bean? All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just introduce the measure. We have
Director,
Galagani.
one moment. We can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me now?
If we could just have the volume up a little bit, please.
Can you hear me better?
We're getting...
Are we okay?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So I'll try to speak louder then. I'll just introduce the measure. Mr. Galagani and Councilor Salcher are here to answer any specifics, but what is in front of you is an appropriation of $171,969 from free cash. And this is to fund the first lease payment for the new Assembly Square Fire Station. Back in October of 2021, the council approved the former administration's request to enter into a 30-year lease agreement. It's between the city and BMR Assembly Innovation LLC for the purpose of housing the Assembly Square Fire Station. The appropriation in front of you covers the period from January 2nd of this year to June 30th, the end of the fiscal year. Now, in this lease agreement, the base rent payment on an annual basis is $349,576. It's a 30-year lease. That payment escalates by 2% each year. So under the terms of the lease, the first payment is to be tendered when the landlord's premises core and shell work is substantially complete, which it is at this time. So the reason this is not budgeted, last June we were uncertain of the actual date when that work was to be done. So we did not budget that in the fire department budget. So hence we have to come before you with the free cash for this first payment. And of course, in fiscal 2025, in the budget will fully fund an annual lease payment. That's what is in front of you. There was substantial discussion back in 2021, and the council did approve the lease on October 28th, 2021. And we have Mr. Galagani and Councilor Salcher here to answer any specifics on the lease agreement.
Thank you, Director. I'll open it up to colleagues. I just have one question, just so I understand. The order says requesting the acceptance of the lease and the appropriation. From your description, it sounds like we already agreed on this lease 3 years ago. What are we just voting on the appropriation, or is this legal language the acceptance of the lease? Is that somehow different than having entered the lease 3 years ago?
Mr. President, it's a flawed council order in terms of language, extraneous language. And I'm sure the Selchert and the city clerk would agree with me. It doesn't really affect what's in front of you. It's the appropriation that you're voting on. You've already voted on the lease.
Okay, so there's no confusion among councilors. What we're voting on is the appropriation, and our legal department is advising us that is what we are voting on. I just want to confirm, Ms. Selchert.
Yes, Mr. President, I did advise that I would respectfully request that the item be corrected, the record be corrected to reflect that council is approving the free cash to fund the previously approved lease, and specifically Exhibit C, which was included in the original lease. But if you look at Exhibit C, it says acknowledgement of term commencement date and term expiration date. So now that the tenant space has been officially built out, the city has recently accepted and executed Exhibit C, which is really what's being approved at this time, not the lease itself. We're saying, yes, they've built the space, it's substantially complete in accordance with the lease, and therefore the rent can commence, and the lease term commences.
Okay. Councillor Klingon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, that was definitely a little confusing with regards to the language in that order. And just on that, just so I'm crystal clear, the language that is currently in the lease is the language, like no new language has been added to the lease from the one that we accepted in 2021.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Further questions? I know we have some colleagues joining us virtually. Any hands raised? All right. On the item.
On the item, Councillor McLaughlin.
Aye.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes.
Councillor Said.
Yes.
Councillor Scott.
No.
Councillor Mba. Councillor Burnley.
Aye.
Councillor Klingon.
Yes.
Councillor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councillor Pineda-Newfeld.
Yes.
Councillor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With 9 councillors in favor, one opposed, and 1 absent, that item is approved.
Excellent. And thank you to our firefighters for being here tonight. Thank you all. Next item.
The next item is item 6B, a report of the Committee on Land Use, meeting on February 15th, 2024.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Land Use met for a joint public hearing with the Planning Board. We had several big-ticket items that were withdrawn, most notably the Summer Nova proposal, as well as the proposal on 234 Pearl Street. Both were withdrawn. We're awaiting a resubmittal of those. So we had 2 public hearings. One was requesting the ordainment of an amendment for permanent use tables to establish recreational camps for children within recreational use areas, service use areas. This is basically allowing day camps for kids throughout the city. We had some residents come and discuss their concerns about noise and about whether it's appropriate for this to be a citywide issue. Some people said they work from home and children playing next door might be an issue to them. Other people testified and said that the reason the children are there is because their parents have to work and that they need someone to provide daycare for them. So this item, about 7 or 8 people discussed it. I'd say it was 50-50 in terms of people testifying. This item remained in committee for a later vote, awaiting the Planning Board recommendation. We also had a public communication from a Greg Donovan requesting a zoning map amendment to change the zoning district of 321 Washington Street from fabrication to commercial industry. Mr. Donovan did not show up and did not explain what he's proposing and why he needs this change, and about 40 to 50 people showed up saying that they were opposed to this and they support FAB and hope that the City Council and the Planning Board don't support this. So this item was also left in committee, and I submit my committee report as submitted.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion on that committee report? That item is laid on the table for approval.
Item 6C is a report of the Committee on Legislative Matters, meeting on February 13th, 2024.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Legislative Matters did meet on December 5th. Nope, that's not right. Whatever the date was. I note that the minutes say December 5th, so we'll have to fix that. All members were present on the Mr. Dayton question 2 Tuesdays ago, I guess, a week and a half ago. We discussed a handful of items. All were kept in committee. These were primarily older items that had carried forward because of the nature of their disposition to the committee from the last session. Our legislative and policy analyst, Brendan Salisbury, provided an update. We were also joined by Director of Human Resources, Director Gill. The only real lengthy discussion was on an item regarding adoption of the state family and medical leave provision. As some folks may recall, this is something that we'd taken up a year or so back. There had been a parallel item in the Committee on Confirmation Appointments and Personnel Matters, and there was a discussion held in that committee. So there was a lot of discussion just about sort of updating that, finding out where we are. The administration is still looking at proposing something that in their, as they expressed to the committee, will be better than the state policy. There were some questions about sort of the nuance and details of that, and ultimately it was requested that the administration provide a memo comparing the city's proposal versus the state policy, and so we can just really see apples versus whatever, and figure out where we are. No one steal Willie's bike. please. Apologies for the audio interruption. And so we will hopefully receive that follow-up information and bring this back up when we have it. Otherwise, the video is available, the minutes are detailed, and I request that the report be accepted as submitted.
Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. Just in response to that last point around the Paid Family Medical Leave Act and the acceptance of it, as the council may remember, this is something I introduced not last month, but the previous January before that, in response to the state having passed a bill years ago that would expand these protections and benefits for employees. At the time of its passage, there was a provision that said, you get 12 weeks paid leave off with a certain percentage of your wages. Since this acceptance of that bill at the state level, and since I have put forward this ordinance, there has been an update to that law, in fact, actually, in November of last year, that allows for what is called topping off for employees, so that employees can actually get 100% of their wages during those 12 weeks off if they use some of their accrued vacation pay or sick pay or other paid leave to fill that gap. This is on the state's website under the FAQs for employees about topping off PFML benefits. I say that because the administration has said their proposal would be better than the state's proposal because it would have a higher percentage of wages for employees' benefits during this time. I'm not sure, they did not reckon with the update to the state law and how that can be fixed by topping off the benefits. So I just wanted to put that into the record so that we can make sure to do our due diligence to ensure that if we are taking up a plan, that it is comparable or better than what the alternative is. So I just want to put that out there for the administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the good councillor at large. So just to put a fine point on it, so for the administration to, when we do, I don't see anyone from the administration here, but in that response it was requested at the meeting to just to clarify that it reflects the latest iteration of the bill. I think that should be clear, but thank you to the good councillor for noting that update. And I just want to emphasize to the administration, please let us know, give us the apples to whatever with that, based on that updated version. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, that item is laid on the table for approval.
Item 6D is a report of the Committee on Licenses and Permits, meeting on February 14th, 2024.
Councillor Burnley.
Thank you. Through the chair, we met on February 14th, Valentine's Day, for what was a quite romantic meeting. I was sitting in the car by myself in the cold. I did not turn it on for heat. It was a mistake. And we talked about a number of items, including some that were withdrawn from Lucky Strike and EverFitness, and a few either garages or auto sale businesses. We recommended all items except for one item which we discharged without recommendation. That is item 66, which is a used car dealership in Ward 1. So I note that because I do have questions for the ward councilor and to see if he had some follow-up there. We had some complaints from abutters that the proposed new used car dealer license would exacerbate traffic and also would increase trash in the area. We had some assurances around some of these things from the applicant who showed up late to the meeting, but I wanted to just make sure before we moved forward on this that the ward councilors had an opportunity to speak with the applicant and or any of these abutters who had issues with this application. And I would love a discussion on this before I move to approve it.
I may.
So if we approve the committee report, that'll put the items before us, and then we can amend with conditions, is that correct?
It is.
Excellent. So on the committee report, which will put these items before us because they don't have a recommendation.
May I clarify one thing?
Yeah.
It's actually two items that were taken up together that were recommended to be discharged with no recommendation. So it's 6D5 and 66, a new garage and a new used car dealer license, both for the same owner at 212 Broadway.
Excellent. On the committee report?
On the committee report, Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Excuse me.
Councilor Wilson. Oh,
Yes.
Councilor Burnley, you have a question on the vote?
Yeah, we have to approve the before
Committee
before we
report,
can talk
yeah.
about it. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Mba. Councilor Burnley.
Aye.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Newfeld.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With 10 councilors in favor and 1 absent, that committee report is approved, and those two items, 24-0024 and 24-0027, are now before the council.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So I had a neighborhood meeting at the gas station yesterday with concerned residents and the new owner of the property. I have a number of conditions that if the clerk could share on the screen so I don't have to read every single one of them, that satisfies both the applicant and the neighbors. I think if these conditions are met, I would be satisfied to vote in approval.
Thank you,
It's like
Councilor
it's big
McLaughlin.
print, so I'll summarize to people. It's basically keep the place clean, shovel the walks, don't park on MacArthur Street, take care of rodents, and there just needed further clarification about how many cars would actually be allowed on the property.
Excellent. Any questions? Thank you to the ward councilor on these items as conditioned.
First on the conditions. Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes. Yes.
Councilor Mba. Councilor Burnley.
Aye.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Newfeld.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With 10 councilors in favor and 1 absent, those conditions are approved, and that will put the items as conditioned before the council. So now on the items as conditioned. Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Mba. Councilor Burnley.
Aye.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Newfeld.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With 10 councilors in favor and 1 absent, those items are approved as conditioned.
Excellent.
And the next item is item 6E, a report of the Committee on Public Utilities and Public Works, meeting on February 12th, 2024.
Councilor Klingon?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, we met on the 12th. Myself and Councilor Strezzo were in attendance. Councilor McLaughlin had a conflict. It was just 5 items in there, 3 of which were answered by memo from the DPW Commissioner, which is attached to the file here. I guess the only thing, there's 2 things I want to mention that the 2 that were kept in committee, item 4, that the bench, the replacement of the bench at the Brown School, it seems as though the city's looking to replace the bench, but no one's really sure what happened to the original bench. So there'll be a bench there, but it won't necessarily be the bench. But there will be a bench in memory of Marilyn Haggerty. And then the other one is just the water and sewer we're looking for an update on the administration's plan for financial assistance for water bills. They're not ready to present that yet, so we kept that in committee. They'll be rolling that plan out in the coming weeks, sometime in late March. So I'll give you an update on that when it comes in. Otherwise, ask that this report be accepted as submitted.
Thank you. Discussion, that item is laid on the table for approval.
The next item will be item 8.1, an officer's communication from the city clerk requesting confirmation of the appointment of Natasha Frazier to the position of Assistant Clerk of Committees.
That item is referred to the Confirmation of Appointments Committee.
Item 8.2 is an officer's communication from the city clerk requesting confirmation of the reappointment of Peter Force Lacey to the position of Legislative Clerk.
Is there a motion
Mr. President, I'd like to move to approve this tonight.
on that? Roll call.
No, we don't need it.
Great, laid on the table for approval.
Item 8.3 is an officer's communication from the city clerk requesting confirmation of the reappointment of Stephanie Wadzowski to the position of Clerk of Committees.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to approve this tonight.
Laid on the table for approval.
Item 9.1.
Councilor Burnley.
Thank you. I would like to waive the readings of items 9.1 through 9.6 and move for approval.
Seeing no discussion, those items are laid on the table for approval. Let's waive the readings of the public communications 9.7, 9.8, and 10.5 and place those on file.
And that brings us to the end of the agenda for the evening, Mr. President.
Are there any late items?
Everyone's favorite question. I see no further items before the council.
Let's take a vote.
So, it's harder when we move fast. Okay. On approval of item 1.3, 4.1 to 4.2, 4.4, 6B to 6C, 6E, 8.2 to 8.3, and 9.1 to 9.6, and to place on file items 4.3, 9.7 to 9.8, and 10.3 to 10.5. Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Mba. Yes. Councilor Burnley.
Aye.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With all councilors in favor, those items are approved and placed on file as indicated.
Councilor Mba moves to adjourn.
And on adjournment, Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes, please.
Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Mba.
Yes, please.
Councilor Burnley.
Aye.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
With all councilors in favor, the meeting is adjourned.
Have a great night, everybody.